Lisa Brennan.
And I'm Justin Trice. Welcome to Crime of the Arts,
a true crime podcast that peeks behind the curtain to shine a light on the dark and untold truths of the creative arts.
From film set mysteries to celebrity murders and art heists, these two theater nerds will usher you into the unknown.
Oh, well, hi, everybody. We have a special guest this week, but he's going to be in and out. His name is Riley.
Hey, Riley. He's camera shy. He's good.
Yeah. Okay, you want to get down? Here, you want to play with my iPad? Why don't we try that? Is there anything on here for you to play with? You like my jazzy new hat?
Yes.
This is what's going up for our giveaway. It says, "Don't do crime, folks." So this week, I am going to be telling you the story about the origin of Chippendales.
Oh, okay. I know nothing about that, and I know recently there was like a Hulu special, which I really wanted to see. It had a very nice cast.
Like a dramatized show.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah, is it on Hulu or?
Yeah, it's also on Hulu. Yeah,
I have to check that out.
I haven't seen the show, but okay. And what are you doing?
I will be discussing the rise and fall of Todd and Julie Chrisley, or as I'd like to say, Chrisley doesn't know best. Okay,
nailed it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm glad you're doing this story because, again, this lives in like the peripheral of the things that I know, and I don't totally know what they did that sent them to jail.
Okay.
But we all know they went to jail. Like, that's pretty.
Yeah, we all know they went to jail. We're gonna learn what happens later.
Okay. Somebody, I don't know if it's like Facebook or Google listening to me or whatever, but I got a notification or like something showed up in my feed, and it was that Lady Chrisley is actually in the same prison as the guy from Cheer.
Oh my goodness, your guy from Cheer. Oh,
my guy from Cheer.
Damn. Okay.
Riley's here today, folks, because Riley's home from school. He doesn't feel very well, so you might have to hear some of that in the background.
He might make an appearance. He said, "What?"
Yeah. He said, "What?
What? I'm on the show.
Yeah, so bear with us today. I'm momming on 1,000, and we'll make it work. Okay, it's a even number, so I go first.
Yeah, so it's your turn. And before you go, I just want to say, Jay, if you are listening, seriously, I loved every second of you guys' episode. Thank you so much for, coming in and not being Justin Trice, as we all know. No, seriously, dude, like, I greatly appreciated it. And me personally, I love The Omen. It's one of my favorite horror films. And just the moment you said the title, I could already hear the music. Copyright. I'm not going to do the music, but no, seriously, man, you were a welcomed addition, and can't wait to be here at the same time to work on something with you in an episode. Yeah.
He just had me like crying at some points, like about Chris Brown and his leggies. I was ruined.
And I was dying on that. I was dying on y'all. The Jason Derulo substitute here, which, I mean, he's not completely innocent either. But as of now, I don't think he's beat any women. He's just cheated on them. But
oh my God. Oh, I'm dying.
Yeah, no, I was loving the episode. So I just wanted to give a special shout out to that. And then also old high school friend Christina K. You listen to this podcast. You text me every now and again. Apparently, it's always great feedback, but it is because of you. She asked, "Are you guys going to cover the Chrisley story at some point?" And I said, "Sure, at some point we're going to cover." I just wanted to give it a little more time to see if they somehow wiggled out of going to jail.
Right.
But they did not. So I was like, you know what? We got people asking for it, so I will deliver it. So once I get ready to do this story, Chris K, if you're listening, thanks for being a supportive listener. Thanks for the feedback, and we hope you enjoy the story. Yeah.
Yes. Okay, so I'm going to go first. I titled this "Welcome to Chippendales." Ooh. Most people, when they think about striptease, probably view it as a campy, tongue-in-cheek parody of like erotic desire.
Right.
For those of you who don't know, Chippendales is a male dance revue that was founded in 1979 in LA, California. So the original owner and creator of Chippendales was a man by the name of Steve Banerjee.
Okay.
And Banerjee was an American Indian businessman And he came up with the idea of Chippendales as a way to attract more female patrons to his struggling nightclub. That was called the Hollywood Palace, which sounds sleazy enough.
Yeah.
So Banerjee's vision for Chippendales was to create a male revue that was sophisticated and elegant, unlike the more raunchy and vulgar male strip shows that were popular at the time. So he recruited a group of physically fit and attractive men to be dancers and choreographed elaborate dance routines for them to perform. And the show became an instant sensation, and Banerjee quickly expanded the brand to include touring shows, merchandise, and even a TV show, which, what could that have been about?
I was going to say, what was the contents of that TV show?
I don't know.
I just picture in my head like a diehard drama that always had, sexy musical numbers. It's just like, Karen's in a car accident. Oh no.
Was it?
She's in a coma. This can't be. And then he's having like a soliloquy or monologue to her at the hospital bed, and then he just breaks out in his little.
Oh God, that's horrible. I hope that's not what it is. I hope that it's like a shitty reality TV show that goes through the life of all of the dancers or something. Nonetheless, Banerjee's success was marred by personal and legal troubles. And he's known for his volatile and controlling behavior and was involved in several lawsuits and disputes with his partners and investors.
Fun.
Per the usual format on Crime of the Arts, let's give you a little backstory. Born Saumen Banerjee in 1946 to Bengali parents, Banerjee migrated from Bombay to Canada in his mid-20s and worked there before finding his way to California. In California, he worked his way up from a gas station attendant to a failed backgammon club owner. So in 1975, he bought a nightclub on the west side of LA and named it Chippendales. At that time, the name Chippendales was actually synonymous with a 16th century furniture maker, Thomas Chippendale.
I would have never known that. That's an interesting fact.
So I think what he was going for was like the elegance of this furniture maker's designs.
Yeah.
And he wanted that to translate into his lounge club.
Right.
But Banerjee struggled to elevate the joint to a level of elegance that the name suggested.
Okay.
Stunts like mud wrestling failed to draw crowds. Well, go fucking figure. And like, how could you possibly like call yourself a classy joint if you have mud wrestling? I feel like that goes immediately out the window once you bring mud into the equation.
With a name like Chippendale, you throw some classical music. I don't know. I don't know.
Oh yeah, they're going to classical music wrestle each other.
I don't know what his goal is. Again, don't do crime, folks. And also, don't set up elaborate exotic things.
He just missed the mark. So, according to a film producer named Bruce Nayan, sorry, dude, if I said your name wrong, he actually worked on a Chippendales creative team, quote unquote, in its developmental stages. And he said the bar was not a high-end nightclub. It was a dive bar in an industrial section of West LA. Okay. Honestly. So that all changed when Banerjee made an acquaintance with an LA promoter named Paul Snyder.
Okay.
Does that sound familiar to you?
No.
Okay, well, in a minute.
I only know one Snyder. It's a director, but don't tell me they're related.
In 1979, Snyder helped Banerjee promote Chippendales' hottest event, a male exotic dance night for ladies only. Side note, at the time, Paul Snyder was married to 19-year-old Playmate of the Year, Dorothy Stratton.
Oh my God. Okay. It's all coming together. I wiped that douchebag's name out of my head once that story was done. But
I was doing this and I was like, oh my God, minute. It's coming full circle.
Because you're like, Paul Snyder. I'm like, I only know one Snyder. But no, we are very familiar with him. It's just I struck him from the records. His name wasn't worth the energy.
Folks, I actually did the story of Dorothy Stratton on episode 5, Death of a Playmate, where you will learn all about Dorothy Stratton and the garbage person that is Paul Snyder. So go back and give it a listen. But yeah, so Paul Snyder had his hands in Chippendales.
That's crazy. Makes sense now.
So there it is. Sometimes life just comes full circle, right? Like it's just weird how it just did the story. Okay, so back to this story. The show, touting a $20 entrance fee, would expand into America's first all-male strip targeted at women. There's actually a miniseries on Hulu called Welcome to Chippendales that tells this story. The cast looks stellar. It's the guy, what's his name?
From Silicon Valley?
Yeah.
Kamal, I'm going to mess it up. I can't think of his last name at the moment.
I know. That's why I can't even pretend.
But he's also in Eternals, and he's in Mandalorian for a couple episodes. Yes.
And he's fantastic. I really want to watch it just for him. What a cool role. Okay, so I haven't watched it yet, obviously. It's on my list. But the show depicts Banerjee as having the idea for the all-male dance lineup after watching Stratton enjoy a similar dance at a gay nightclub. But according to a historian named Natalia Petrozella, she has her own Chippendales podcast called Welcome to Your Fantasy.
Okay.
Yeah, she knows everything about it. She said that Snyder was actually the person who came up with the idea for the tuxedo neckties and cuffs combination, which he got from watching Dorothy Stratton be a Playboy bunny. And you could see the resemblance.
You could see the resemblance, yeah.
Just not men in funny ears, everything else. What Banerjee brought to the Enterprise was, again, his insistence on a veneer of respectability and elegance. Even if what he was actually selling was, as one former Chippendales dancer described it, a comedy act for women. Banerjee's version of respectability may have been crude, but it was also effective, in part because it was steeped in whiteness. He said, I wanted to package an all-American Ivy League look and sell it to American women, that he envisioned Chippendales as a Disneyland for adults and fantasized that perhaps Walt Disney could make him a silent partner.
Okay.
Man is fucking delusional. It's important to realize how deliberately this was constructed as a white space in a city that was extraordinarily diverse. Petrozella told LA Magazine. What Chippendales was creating was a new masculine ideal, which was white, really buff, and clean cut. But even while building the racist social hierarchy, Banerjee would spend his whole life butting up against it. Obstacles to which he would respond with increasing violence and turn towards corruption. For Banerjee, Snyder and Stratton were mere stepping stones towards something greater, though their story does foreshadow the intense jealousy Banerjee would feel, not about a woman, but about Chippendales itself. And the Dorothy Stratton story is important in the landscape of domestic violence relationships, so please do go back and listen to that episode.
For sure, yeah.
And maybe what I just said will be a little clearer to you. So that 1988 interview in which he spoke of his erotic nightclubs as a Disneyland was, after all, given a year after he had his own partner murdered. Justin's eyes just flashed. The next phase of Chippendales involved upscaling it from rudimentary strip dances into a full-on choreographed show with trained performers. Enter Nick DeNoia. Previously the husband and manager to actress Jennifer O'Neill, DeNoia was a children's TV producer and former high school teacher from New Jersey.
That's a hell of a transition.
Right?
It's like, let me just stop teaching the young and let me teach these adults to be exotic.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a leap for sure. He actually won 2 Emmys for a forgotten children's show called The Unicorn Tales.
Yeah.
And his Emmy win seems to have been a creative pinnacle that DeNoia struggled to recapture until he partnered with Banerjee.
Okay.
So in convincing Banerjee to let him take Chippendales to the next level, DeNoia found a new creative purpose and finally came close to achieving the level of professional respect for which he hungered. It also allowed him, a closeted gay man, to attain a level of self-expression, a rare thing for a queer person in the 1980s.
Right.
So that's pretty cool. But in 1983, DeNoia convinced Banerjee, with whom he had perpetual creative disagreements, because Banerjee seems like a fucking nightmare person. He convinced him to let him open a New York franchise of the club. So the club right now originally was in LA. So we're jumping coasts. And it was here his creative ambitions really took off. And in the Hulu show, DeNoia creates a big spectacle number that mirrors an erotic Rocky Horror riff, in which a mad scientist creates the perfect male specimen from assembled body parts.
Okay.
And that was actually a real show conceived and staged by DeNoia in 1984, and it was called The Perfect Man.
Okay. He
Right?
was going all
Come on.
in on his choreography. Yes. He was slaying it. Okay.
And if you watch the documentary, not the show, you meet the man who played the perfect man. He was the perfect man, and he's got so many stories. It's awesome. So in an interview with the original person who was on that creative team, Nayan, He said Banerjee would spend the rest of history devaluing Nicholas's contribution, but if there was no Nicholas, there would have been none of the success that we had.
Right.
But Banerjee and Denoya's clashing desire for control became an East Coast, West Coast Cold War. And Denoya's insistence on claiming credit for Banerjee's life work continued to escalate. A dancer named Hadari Sababu, I think I said that right, he experienced the stigma of being the only black dancer in the otherwise all-white lineup.
Right.
Because Banerjee felt that he didn't want more than one black guy in the club, quote unquote.
Quota, that age-old quota issue with Hollywood entertainment, yeah.
Uh-huh. So Banerjee deliberately excluded Sababu from the best-selling Chippendales calendar because of his skin color.
Damn.
And he was not shy about it. His explicit discrimination led to extensive real-life lawsuits stemming from his refusal to let people of color into the nightclub. The lawsuits, combined with a disastrously expensive printing error on the annual calendar, would have wiped out Banerjee's finances, but not for Denoya's backup revenue stream.
Okay.
And that error that occurred was there was 31 days in February in the entire print of the calendar, so they had to pay to have it reprinted. Stupid. So earlier that year, Denoya had maneuvered Banerjee out of creative control over the new Chippendales touring production, which predictably became a massive international success. They actually signed a drafted contract on a diner napkin.
Jesus.
And it gave the ability to Denoya to create the tour, and that tour saved Banerjee from financial ruin, essentially. But the fact that Denoya had scammed him out of the right to call himself the creator and owner of the wildly popular tour infuriated him. Banerjee tried unsuccessfully to break that contract in New York courts, and this ultimately led him to murder. And in 1987, Banerjee tasked his underling, Ray Colon, with hiring a hitman. And on April 7th, 1987, at 3:40 p.m., Nick Denoya was shot in the face with a large caliber pistol while sitting at his desk on West 40th Street in Manhattan.
Wow. Really? That's...
Really?
Damn.
He was shot by a man named Gilbert Rivera Lopez. So, yeah, he couldn't gain his control back, so he just put a hit out on him. It sounds like something out of a movie.
I mean, it does. It sounds like something out of a movie.
3:40. It's the middle of the fucking day.
It sounds pure 80s also, from signing contracts on fucking diner napkins to making all this money. And now it's just like, I lost control because I put 31 days in February, which, not for nothing. Again,
there's never 31 days.
There's never 31 days, and it's not technically a crime, so I won't say don't do crime. But if you're going to fuck up to that level, at least own it. If I was a manager, I would have been like, February in real life only has 28 days, but these hot men of Chippendales want to give you 31 more. Like, I would have just been like, these calendars.
Sell it, Justin. Sell it. So the whole franchise finally under Banerjee's control, things should have been smooth sailing. But with Denoya no longer around to balance out Banerjee's more aggressive and reckless traits, they only worsened, as did his paranoia.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, you had someone murdered, so I imagine your paranoia is at a 10. So Banerjee had previously gotten Cologne to actually burn down 2 competitive nightclubs, purely because they were also hosting male stripper nights. By now, he was under investigation by the federal authorities for Denoya's murder, which made him hyper-vigilant and constantly looking over his shoulder. Still, the federal authorities had no way of proving Banerjee's connection to the crime, so his bad habits and murderous tendencies only increased.
I mean, he's introduced some very mob-like mentality to what he's doing. He's over here trying to be the kingpin of male dancers.
This is organized crime.
Pretty much. Like, he was trying to be the kingpin of strippers. It's crazy.
He was the kingpin of strippers. Essentially. Hold on. In 1990, Banerjee utilized Cologne again in a failed plot to murder 3 former Chippendales dancers for defecting to a rival male dance review.
Oh my goodness.
The original plan was allegedly to stab all 3 dancers with a syringe full of cyanide. And had it not been for Banerjee's spiraling territorialism and greed, he probably would have gotten away with murder and continued to helm a lucrative small business empire. Instead, in 1994, while Banerjee was essentially hiding out, nursing millions of dollars in cash in a remote Swiss village, authorities caught up with him and arrested him.
Good.
He was charged with violating the Federal Racketeer Influence and Corrupt Organizations Act, the RICO Act, which is the same act that they got all the mobsters on, through a pattern of racketeering activity that included murder, murder for hire, solicitation to commit murder, and arson. So, it's quite a resume. As a bonus, there are the crimes for which he wasn't prosecuted. He allegedly hired someone to attempt to kill yet another one of his dancers for producing a competing calendar, leading to a horror scene in which men stripping on a beach for a photo shoot wound up fleeing an unknown gunman. He sent someone to the shoot to kill this person.
Them.
And it's just a bunch of half-naked men running, screaming for their lives.
That's pretty wild.
Another former dancer choreographer temporarily fled to the mountains after a rumor surfaced that Banerjee had put a hit out on him as well. So little is known about Banerjee's wife, Irene, or his 2 children, but he seems to have been thinking of securing their welfare when he made his final business decision. After pleading guilty to the RICO charges, Banerjee was facing the prospect of having all of his assets, including his ownership of Chippendales, seized, meaning the entire empire would have been auctioned off to the highest bidder, leaving Banerjee's family with nothing.
Right.
So before that could happen, Banerjee died by suicide in his jail cell hours before his sentencing, and this meant that his family maintained control of the company. Wild.
Again, he was a businessman through and through. He knew what he had to do so they could keep it.
Oh my God. So Banerjee's family sold it to investors who revitalized the brand, including infamous boy band promoter Lou Pearlman.
Honestly,
who had, to put it mildly, his own problems with money. But here we go. Comes around again. I did a whole episode on Lou Pearlman.
That you did.
Episode 20, the boy band con.
And when you first started this Chippendale story and how it came to be and the choreography, I was like, in my head, I'm like, this was, I don't want to say boy bands 1.0, but because it bled into the 90s, it helped. Yeah.
Well, it's just the same thing, just not naked. It's all performance, you know? Yeah. I was very much meant to tell this story because apparently I've done all of these other stories that are all connected here.
It was meant to be.
Yep. So after 9/11, the New York club actually shut down, and Chippendales became a primarily touring show. It now has a permanent Las Vegas residency, which began in 2005, and the show eventually got its own customized theater in Vegas.
Oh, damn.
But one thing that remains unclear is how much Banerjee, outside of all the greed and murder, cared about what a cultural touchstone he was creating. Dancers who worked with Denoya tend to acknowledge that he could be arrogant and self-aggrandizing, but that he was always building the mythos of Chippendales as a liberating, feminist, artistic experience. Which is cool. And I think that's probably true. So in reality, at least in its early years, its rowdy nightclub scene subjected its dancers to sexual exploitation and racial discrimination. Not exactly a breakthrough for equality.
Right.
Still, it's undeniable that Chippendales' lasting cultural legacy is one of empowerment, both for women who have a safe space to express their sexual desires and for men who find sexual and creative freedom in erotic dance. The famous dance lineup gave us, among other things, that legendary 1990s SNL skit with Patrick Swayze and Chris Farley, and its tradition of titillating women arguably lives on in Magic Mike. So people around the world still flock to see Chippendales dancers every night. The current lineup of dancers boasts a shark wrangler, a BMX rider, a jazz pianist with an MFA, and Vinny Guadagnino from the Jersey Shore has actually done 2 stints.
I feel like I did vaguely hear something about Vinny on there. Yeah. Getting that money.
So in the end, I mean, so in all of my research in this, I had to go on the Chippendales website. I mean,
yes, you had to take one for the team. I'm surprised you didn't go to Vegas.
This is all for research. But yeah, it's just like, it's a trip because number one, it's changed. Everyone has a different shade. It's beautiful, inclusive, diverse. They're all incredibly sexy. It's ridiculous. It doesn't even make sense. And I was looking for a picture for the cover art, and it was just like this moving clip, and I was like, oh my God, I can't take any of this. So I think I picked one that's not too bad.
That's fucking crazy. First off, I'm just still processing everything that this guy really was a full-on kingpin. Murderer. But again, he had this vision. He saw, and then he's like, I can't afford to lose this. It's just the transition that he went into to now, just like
there was nothing to lose.
Well, there was nothing to lose. But yeah, once you killed your partner, and in the manner that you did it, there's no going back. That was some very dark side shit there. And he just, it sounds like he got drunk with power. And now I'm just sitting over here like, I didn't know about all these hits. I didn't know that these strippers were out here fearing their lives. Like, and then I'm picturing that, like you said, they're all running on the beach away from bullets. Like, it just,
there's so much imagery in that. You can really see it.
That is crazy.
Yeah, and the guy who played the perfect man, I wish I had written. I've watched this documentary outside of doing this story, and it was a while ago, so I don't have all any notes or anything like that. He was one of the ones who was effectively hiding in Europe or something, doing a show for someone else that he had sent a hit out on, and he heard about it before it happened, and that's why everything kind of fell apart. But so in the end, Banerjee did achieve his dream. He gave the world high-class male erotica, and he did it, for better or worse, all in his own way. And that, my friends, is the Chippendales story. Welcome to Chippendales. Let me introduce you to a few new friends of ours.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back for Season 2 of the Status Alternative Podcast. We are going to have more comics, more manga, more anime, more professional wrestling, more bands to recommend. So, with that all being said, gear up, sit back, relax, and enjoy your favorite podcast, the Status Alternative Podcast. And remember to stay alternative.
So tell me about how the Chrisleys don't know best.
The old Chrisleys, Todd and Julie Chrisley.
Todd Chrisley, that's right. They're from here, right? They're Nashville folk?
Yeah, they are Nashville folk. They're
Nashville folk.
They've been around, but yes, they're known to be Nashville folk, or what was I going to say? I'm going to get to where they were born and stuff, where he was raised, and how he started all of that. But again, Chrisleys, when you hear that name, you either know who they are or you don't know who they are. Even if you're not into reality TV to that level, I feel like 90% of you have happened to turn the channel and see Todd Chrisley probably preaching or yelling at his daughter, or saying whatever he's saying to his son. They're just, yeah.
He's a unique individual.
Yeah, keyword unique. I'm still...
Of all the reality TV I watch, that's not one I watch. I watch them all, except for that and the Kardashians, just because I find the tone of his voice irritating.
I just can't stand to look at him, and I can't stand this fucking voice, because he's such a frail dude, and it's like a bobblehead. On it, you know, his shoulders are always up there, and he's like, just like, I spend my money the way I spend my money. My daughter not doing all this, that, and like the son just clearly a fuck up.
And he sounds, not to like stereotype, but he sounds like a gay man. He's very feminine.
He is very feminine. And that's the thing. Like, I remember years ago, I turned the channel. I happened to see this on, and I was trying to gauge what I'm watching. And then, he crawled into bed with his wife, and I was like, all right, well, but again, because they've been to so many places, I feel like they are Tennessee people, but I feel like they're also Houston people. I don't know, different regions, different things, but
so that's why he's got all that weird vocal changes or something
like that. But I couldn't take the show seriously, and I can't stand it. I just feel like he's always yelling at someone.
And usually I'm fine with that, but it's just, if his voice didn't sound like that, I'd be able to, consume it a little easier.
But yeah, that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about the rise and fall of Todd and Julie Chrisley. Again, Todd and Julie Chrisley, for those who live under a rock, were American reality TV stars from the show Chrisley Knows Best. That basically portrayed their affluent family life. The series itself lasted for 9 seasons. It started in 2014 and it got canceled in 2022 in the result of the scandals that we're going to talk about. But even before it was canceled, it had produced another spinoff that was released in 2019 called Growing Up Chrisley that focused on the 2 kids, Chase and Savannah. As some of you already know, in the news, this is a current thing. You might have heard that Todd and Julie have been arrested. So we're going to get into the gist of why and how and everything behind that.
What stupid shit they did probably to get themselves arrested.
And some of you that continue to listen, some of you might be like, Lisa and Justin have their themes now. I promise you, I don't really have themes. It's just these issues keep happening. So this story...
Is it tax evasion?
Part of it is tax evasion. Part of it is tax evasion. It's not my fault all these people are doing tax evasion right now, but it's how they're doing the tax evasion and other things that they're doing that I love to address, because they're all doing it differently. Don't do crime, folks, but you're all doing it differently. You're all attempting the same goal, just differently. And I'm here to dissect the execution of it and other stuff. So for a little backstory, just to give a history, Todd Chrisley was born in the state of Georgia on April 6, 1969, before growing up in Westminster, South Carolina with his brothers. So he's got just, again, Southern vibe all across. It's Georgia, South Carolina. It's like creating this unique twang to how he handles things. But yes, he grew up in South Carolina, like with his brothers, Randy and Derek. His family was known to have a very humble life, which you can never tell through the show, a very humble life during his childhood. And he often attributes the work ethic that led to the success to his family background later on in life. So after graduating from high school, he decided, I'm not going to pursue college. And he married his first wife, Teresa Terry, back in the day.
It's a rough name. Teresa Terry.
Teresa Terry. I mean,
it's not nice.
It sounded as Southern as it gets.
Like John Johnson.
John Johnson. Yeah.
Okay. Sorry.
But no, you're completely right. I had to take a moment because I'm just like, they had 2 kids together, Lindsay and Kyle, who they made appearances on the show. Obviously, later on, the show started in 2014, but him and Teresa divorced back in 1996. Because Teresa claimed that he was being physically and mentally abusive towards her.
Oh, shit.
Does that really surprise you? You see how he be carried on in that show?
I don't know. I don't really know anything about this show.
Okay.
So
I feel like
he's got a real temper.
He's just always... I don't even want to say it's like this macho alpha male thing, because it's...
Well, that's counterintuitive.
It's counterintuitive, but no, he is very, again, the way he talks to his daughter, he's aggressive. The way he talks to his wife, he's always like, I'm the man. And, like this is the thing. So
the lady doth
protest too much. But yeah, anytime I turn to channel, he's always like, in my household, in my money. Even his mom had to tell him chill out a couple times when I saw. But
cool.
So that's what she accused him of. But shortly after that divorce, Todd married his second and current wife, Julie Chrisley, in May of the same year. My man got divorced and remarried in the same year.
In 94? 6?
In 96.
He got divorced and remarried.
In the same year. All in the same year, folks.
Well, damn. I wonder if he was cheating with her. He already sounds like a dirtbag.
In the show, he says things very dirtbaggy, and he does try to be affectionate. He seems like a horn dog sometimes. I don't know. I'm using the word horn dog because it seems appropriate for like that show, that region. But
okay,
it's just yeah. This
is not at all how I imagined him. I've never watched this show, and the impression that I had is very different.
Again, I mean, your impression might not be off. It's just the person, what he's doing on the show. It to me, it doesn't match. But
okay, yeah.
So that went down. Like Julie, who was known as Julie Hughes, she was born back in January 9th, 1973 in Winchester, South Carolina. So the two of them had 3 kids together, including their daughter, Savannah, which I mentioned, and the 2 sons, Grayson and Chase. You know, Chase was the baby of the show and blah, blah, blah. Grayson was like in his dad's image, the oldest boy, but he just, you know, he's young, he's spoiled. He just does what the fuck he wants to do. And his dad's always trying to instill more into him.
So, and that Chase is still pretty young, right? Isn't he still a minor?
I feel like now, because I don't follow the show to that extent, I feel like now he has to be coming up to being a young adult. I remember
something about custody when they had to go to prison. Doesn't matter.
Oh, yeah. See, we're going to get to that in a second.
Okay.
Yeah, so the family also has full custody. Who you're thinking of is what I was about to say.
Okay,
the family also has full custody of their granddaughter, Chloe, who is the child of Todd's son, Kyle, from his previous marriage. Because Kyle's struggle with substance abuse and mental health issues led them to do that. So that's where the custody battle that you're referring to is coming from. So,
man, that poor kid.
Yeah. So before becoming a famous reality TV star, Todd was able to make a name for himself as a renowned real estate investor and tycoon in Georgia. So he was able to find success by flipping rough properties, and then he would sell them for a profit after doing renovations to help raise their overall value. And he was really fucking good at this, apparently.
Oh, I had no idea.
Yeah, he then went on to start his own company called Chrisley and Company, where he was able to make a fortune investing in retail after he had all that money he was flipping, and he used that to invest in retail, asset management, entertainment, and media, his company, which was Chrisley and Company. So, however, his asset management company, Chrisley Asset Management, the man had a lot of companies, if you're not noticing a pattern here.
That sounds really ironic. This man went to prison for partially tax evasion, and he's got an asset management company.
Chrisley Asset Management made sizable real estate investment that ended up flopping because of the economic recession back in 2008. Yeah.
Crash.
Which led to him being unable to pay back the $30 million loan that he had his assets leveraged against, and it forced him to file bankruptcy back then for that company.
Oh shit.
So
$30 million?
Again, $30 million. And I'm not here. Don't do crime, folks, as you know, and I'm not here to justify anyone's reasons towards crime. I'm here just to shed the light on the subject of this man started off humble. So they say, I don't believe that, but he started off humble with nothing. He gained something. He potentially lost most of it, and then he made a comeback. That's motivation for what we'll probably get into in a minute. So despite the pitfalls in his business at that time, Todd was still able to keep up appearances by living a lavish lifestyle that led people to believe he was still doing very well.
That's wild that people do that. I don't know how you can just keep it moving knowing you got zilch in the bank and you are outlandishly living outside of your means, just hoping that you figure it out. It makes me nauseous.
Well, that's the thing. They get accustomed to this world and they have their insecurities, which is why they're so determined to keep this status, this social status.
Right, it's an appearance, right?
Yeah, They just want to keep it. They don't want to lose it, because then if they lose it, they have to face that reality. And it's stupid to me, but I get why. And it's not even just with rich people. It's just in life. Let's face it. Half the people faking it on the gram or faking it elsewise. It's just
everywhere.
Yeah,
on the gram. I mean, I have a person I know, a friend, who does exactly that. In this idea on Instagram that he's like some kind of traveler. He like drives all over the country and blah, blah, blah. And he's posting all these pictures, but really they're from a month ago and he's sleeping in my guest room.
Oh, no.
You know? And it's like keeping up appearances that he's like a traveling wanderer, but really he's been sleeping on my couch for 6 months or whatever, you know, and it's real. That is real shit. But what's crazy to me is a person like Chrisley, we said, come from like humble beginnings, and he worked his way up into being a millionaire to then lose it in the crash of 2008. Get it back, and then you lose it all because you're going to jail, sucker. Like there's nothing to have. So what? I don't understand.
But it's just crazy. So yeah, he was keeping up the appearance of the lavish lifestyle. And that led people to believe he was doing well. Yeah, he was keeping up with the Kardashians before they were keeping up. And because of him continuing to fake it till you make it, he started to receive more media attention as a result of his previous success as a business owner. And then that's when he started to begin to make appearances on several TV shows, such as Steve Harvey's
talk show?
Yeah, Steve Harvey's talk show.
Okay.
And then impressed by like his charisma and his presence on TV, they decided to give him his own reality TV show in 2014 called Chrisley Knows Best, that was centered around his life, his life as a successful family man. And it gave people an inside look into his everyday life, basically.
And I mean, he is someone who it's interesting to watch.
Right.
You know, like he's a character all on his own.
Yeah.
There's something interesting, and people are drawn into the idea that humble beginnings and you can have all of these other things, right? That's why people watch The Real Housewives and all those kind of scenarios to vicariously live through these rich people's ridiculous scenarios. And there's something interesting about just the character that he is. So like the way he speaks, his effeminate business, the way he stands his stature in his family, all of that is very interesting. Yeah. So why not give the man a fucking TV show?
Well, that's what they did. And again, it's just like the power of suggestion. It's like Steve Harvey, and this is like early on in his talk show, like back again, this is like back when he was co-hosting it too. So it's like he's looking for interesting people to get on there, and he just happened to see this person was interesting enough, and then from there it helped catapult Chrisley.
And that's happened on a lot of those shows.
All the time.
Oprah did it.
Dr. Phil. A million fucking times. But as soon as...
Didn't Oprah make Dr. Phil and Dr. Oz and all these other things? She catapulted all of these people.
It's just all these people. Yeah. So, power of influence.
Nuts to how influential.
But that was the thing. So, it gave an inside look to his everyday life, this show, essentially. And I don't know why I was saying Tennessee, but everything, the show itself, the series was shot in affluent Atlanta suburbs of Roswell and is it Alpharetta? I don't know how to pronounce that.
Yeah, you said it right. Yep.
Yeah, so it was shot in there before the family changed their primary residency later on to Nashville, which was during the 4th season of the show. Yeah, they moved to Nashville, like you said, later on in the 4th season.
It's the hot place to be.
It's the hot place to be. But the series was pitched to 10 different networks, and 9 of them actually was like
said yes.
9 of them were interested in buying it. Yeah, 9 of them were like, we need this. This guy's on to something.
Was he on Bravo?
It was picked up by USA initially, USA Network. So the first...
Oh, I guess it's not that weird for them.
Yeah. Well... Okay. I mean, now they're moving more towards drama. I mean, but yeah.
When I think of USA, I usually think of more like cop drama shows like Rizzoli and Isles was a USA show,
or like Mr.
Right?
Robot. That's what I'm saying. Nowadays, they're not so much reality TV.
I just have to show you how fucking cute this is. Look, that's Oscar and Riley on the couch.
Folks, those of you that join us on the Patreon, you're in store for some real cute treats on this episode, because getting to see Riley and then also that video. It puts things in perspective because you're just hearing us and you're like, what is going on? What is she showing us?
You can see the mayhem that is my life. I'm constantly multitasking.
Oh, he's right there.
Here he is. Oh, hi. Were you snuggling with Oscar? Did you hit your head? Oh, you need me to kiss your boo-boo?
Yes.
Oh, is that better? Yeah? Do you want to put your headphones on? No? Okay. He had my headphones on, so I brought his out because he wanted to be like me.
Oh.
Are you going to sit with me, or are you going to sit there?
Wait.
Red, yes. Come here, sit.
No.
No? Okay. Go ahead, Justin. You can keep going. I'll just...
Okay. So the first season only aired 8 episodes, but after having successful ratings, they increased the number of episodes to 13. They're like, okay, people are eating this up. We got to increase the heat. And then it went to 20 in the third season. And then it went to 26 or 27 in just about every other season after that.
That's so many episodes.
It's a lot of him just...
They're like an hour apiece.
Yeah, I think so.
Wow.
Because the series continued to just perform so well, they decided to incorporate another spinoff that I mentioned before, which was the release back in 2019 called Growing Up Chrisley, along with other projects related to the show, such as a podcast called Chrisley Confessions. Didn't know they had that podcast.
Well, isn't that ironic?
Yeah. When I first saw that, I was like, didn't know that was the thing. Curious. But little did they know that their finances and their family life behind the scenes were actually crumbling, slowly leading up to what Lisa mentioned before about there being an arrest in 2022. So let's get into it. On August 2012, 2 years prior to the premiere of Chrisley Knows Best, I told you Todd had filed for Chapter 7 bankruptcy protection, claiming that he had nearly $49 million in debt and only a couple $100 in cash to his name.
Oh my God, $49 million is so much more than $30 million.
Well, that's what he's claiming. That's what he's claiming the debt is. So during the bankruptcy proceedings, they discovered that Julie Chrisley was receiving almost $700,000 in transfers from the corporate bank accounts of Chrisley Asset Management and was basically funding the family's lifestyles using their business funds.
Shut up. Baby shark?
Baby shark indeed. However, a certain portion of the funds was actually money that was awarded to them through the loans they took out and were leveraged against their assets, such as their real estate. Their bankruptcy case was settled in 2015, but this was only the beginning of their financial trouble. So in 2014, the couple conspired together to defraud smaller community banks in the greater Atlanta area and received $30 million in personal loans right before the show aired. In 2014, the couple conspired to defraud smaller community banks in the greater Atlanta area and received $30 million in personal loans right before the show aired. So the Chrisleys, along with their business partners, submitted false documentation in order to receive these loans and went on to spend the money they received on fancy clothes, real estate, and repeated the process to fund the lifestyle.
Oh my God. So stupid. So is this before the show ever became a thing, period?
Well, again, receiving $700,000 thing, that was 2020. That was 2012, which was 2 years before the show existed. And now what I just told you was in 2014, just as the show started.
Desperation of wanting to be super cool for their TV show and just hoping they make enough money with it to keep it alive.
Pretty much.
Holy crap.
Pretty fucking much. And just how crazy is that? Again, we mentioned, 2008 housing crisis / economic recession for us. And here he is, 2012, already pulling some stunts. And then 2014, he's pulling greater stunts than that. $30 million. Like $30 million.
That is so wild.
And clearly you already have a history of whatever you're doing, which is shady and the bankruptcy and everything else. You would think there's like a watch list for this shit. But
Right.
again, he's a clever dude. He knew what he was doing. He knew how to funnel it. He knew where to channel it. In addition to that major bank fraud that I was telling you about, though, that they were committing, the family also didn't pay any fucking taxes on the income that they made over the years. So you thought this was going to be a simple tax evasion story, but now it's basically money laundering and every other fucking thing plus the taxes. Okay.
How do you just never do your taxes? I've already done my taxes for this year.
I mean, I've pretty much already done mine too. I just have to go there and finalize stuff and do a quick double check. But yeah.
Wild.
Yeah.
The amount of fear I have about taxes. Like, dude, do your taxes. This is not hard to not go to jail for paying taxes.
They did this by falsely. They did this Chrisley falsely. I like saying it. Falsely Chrisley. They did this by falsely reporting their taxable income and taking advantage of write-offs that would allow them to pay a minimum amount of taxes, if any at all. So over the years, they also refused to make rent or mortgage payments for several months at a time on the residencies that they were staying at as a family. So
shut up.
Yeah.
They were just paying nothing. They were just hoarding all of their money and spending it on clothes.
The lifestyle.
Oh my God.
Or perhaps they were going to try to write that off in a way too, you know.
Delusional.
They could have attempted to try to write it off like, we just have this house for the show, you know.
Oh my God.
But
crazy.
What's most ironic about their predicament is that they would brag on the show about how they would spend, you know, $300,000 a year and sometimes even more on clothing, when in reality, they're committing major bank and tax fraud in order to fund the extravagant lifestyle for the show. So
could you imagine spending $300,000 on clothes in a year? I probably don't even spend $1,000 on clothes in a year.
I mean, yeah, I don't spend that much. If that, I can't. Yeah, I really don't.
I just wear t-shirts and jeans.
I'm a basic dude. Yeah, I just, you know, I'm all on my graphic tees and
yeah, and I'm also a liar. I don't even wear jeans almost ever. I wear yoga pants every day of my life.
Yeah, I'm an old man. I got like 2 cardigans that I throw over a t-shirt and I call it a day. Like I've said in my ways, sometimes I get fancy. I'll put on a nice sweater or a nice shirt, but like
fancy, huh?
Yeah.
Your money don't jingle jingle, it folds.
But that's the thing. Like, again, I'm just taking it all in. Don't do crime, folks. But if you are doing said crimes, don't fucking boast about your shit on TV. And that's the thing. I just see his little bobblehead on the shoulders, and he's just like, Chase, you spend my money too much, but Dad, you, and that's not his voice. I'm just over exaggerating here, but he's just like, but Dad, you spent $300,000 last year on your velour shirts, which he doesn't wear. I'm just again exaggerating, but.
It's just wild to me that you can, like, how much do you actually need? People like us live every day without that much money.
Yeah.
So it's all relative.
And again, it's the irony because, like, on the show, he's trying to instill these values where he's always like, I had nothing. Right. You need to, you know, I saw an episode.
Yeah. You got nothing but 4 walls that are 6x6 with a bunch of bars.
I saw an episode once where he made the son get a job. He's like, you got to learn value. But it's like, that's all for the show because you didn't fucking know value. You didn't know.
It's not genuine.
Yeah, it's not genuine.
That's so annoying. If I was his son, that would annoy the shit out of me.
Well,
that would have pissed me off.
Again, like they're kids, they didn't necessarily know this was going down. So,
oh yeah, I'm sure.
Eventually, the law finally caught up with the Chrisleys when they were indicted in the law. The law finally caught up with the Chrisleys when they were indicted in 2019 on charges of bank fraud and tax evasions. Wah, 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 we knew. But Todd initially... he initially denied those charges. Well, actually, both of them denied it, if I'm being real. Both of them denied it, claiming that they had nothing to hide and were being set up by former employees. Okay?
Oh my God, all of them are full of shit. It's always somebody else. I would just love for someone to turn around and be like, you're right. Let's make a deal.
The trial proceedings started in May of 2022, and the prosecution statement stated that the Chrisleys exaggerated their income to the banks to borrow over $30 million that they were unable to pay back. They found.
So, can I ask you a question? So did they like forge documents to show that to the bank? Like, how did they pull that off?
That's the catch, yeah, because essentially you are falsifying documents. You're everything from the documents themselves to like the notary of it. You're also creating fake documents in itself, because you have to have documents from your companies, those asset companies, showcasing here's the proof of how much money we make. So like you're cooking the books, you're writing fake receipts, like you're doing all of this. So
that's wild.
Yeah. And the fact that they made it this long, and they probably would have got away with it more if they just didn't fucking talk so much about the lifestyle. But
or if they weren't, that's the thing that fascinates me. Like we did Jen Shaw or whatever, and you got the Chrisleys. If all these people weren't on TV, I wonder if it would have taken this long to become something where they're like, you haven't paid taxes in a long time.
Exactly. If they weren't on TV, he might have got away with it. But they just kept going. And they, from what I understand, because again, I don't watch the show religiously, but every season they got more and more fucking extravagant.
Someone else's dime.
Like I said, the trial proceeding stated in May of 2022, and a prosecution statement stated that the Chrisleys exaggerated their income to the banks to borrow over $30 million that they were unable to pay back. They found that the family had hidden millions of dollars in income from the IRS, and that they were able to accumulate from their TV shows, media projects, everything else, while failing to file their tax returns from 2013 to 2016.
3 years.
So after 3 weeks of trial, they were convicted of all charges in a federal court of Georgia and sentenced to a collective 19 years in prison.
Oh, shit.
Todd himself received a sentencing of 12 years in prison at a minimum security prison in the federal prison camp of Pensacola in Florida. And Julie was sentenced to only 7 years in prison. She got sentenced 7 years in prison, which is the Federal Medical Center in Lexington, Kentucky, due to previous medical conditions she's expressed throughout the seasons and things like that. Both of them received 16 months of probation after their release. Their tax accountant, Peter Tarantino, was also found guilty of filing. And that's part of your answer, too, because you're like, how did they get away with this? He was also found guilty of filing fraudulent tax returns on their behalf and was sentenced to 3 years in prison on those charges, along with 3 years of supervised release once his time is served.
Wow.
The remainder of the Chrisley family took the news pretty hard and were clearly devastated and heartbroken that their parents were going to prison.
Obviously, yeah.
Because of the outcome of the trial, USA Network has canceled all spinoffs of the Chrisley shows. And
the kids can't even make money?
Yeah, and plan on releasing a shortened season of Chrisley Knows Best in 2023. Todd and Julie reported to prison January 17th, 2023, to begin serving out their respective sentences 650 miles apart from each other. And, you know, again, I was following this trial since it started. They're rich. I figured somehow they might slip out of this last second, or there might be some sort of appeal. As of right now, there isn't. But I've been following, and their attorneys and things are saying that, you know, they're trying to find a way to potentially bring this back to court, but they don't have any grounds for it yet. If that happens, we'll keep you guys updated
for sure
on anything.
We got a list of updatable stories to tell you.
We have a shit ton, but that is my story of Chrisley Doesn't Know Best.
Damn.
Rise and fall of Todd and Julie Chrisley. Yeah.
Oh my God. That's wild. The audacity in just blatantly breaking the rules. That's what it was.
Yeah.
It was all about appearances, and it was all about just doing whatever the fuck they wanted. Wild.
That's all I got. That's my tale.
Well, let's plug the Patreon.
Yeah.
We have a new patron. Her name is Angela, my mother. So what's up, Mom? Thanks for supporting us. When I talked to her today, she was like, send me your thing when you're done with Justin later. Okay, you can have it tomorrow, like the rest of the world. No, I'm sorry. You can head on over to patreon.com/Crime of the Arts podcast to give us some support. We have 2 tiers on our Patreon. The Peek Behind the Curtain level is $5 a month, and that gets you these wonderful videos of us recording in the studio or whomever is here, our special guest Riley, our special guest Jay. Maybe we'll have to reel Peyton in one of these days. We'll get Michael in here too. And you also get a thank you card. So the $10 level is the Don't Do Crime Folks level. And on that, you will get these videos, all the episodes ad-free. And we have the cards and the stickers, and we're going to have some cool merch that'll be available. And we are also going to be giving away hats and t-shirts. They are pretty fun. The hats I'm wearing in this video, you can probably see it even in the promo skit. It says "Don't Do Crime, Folks" in real small white letters. And we have t-shirts with the album art on it, like this in the back. If you could see me. They're actually pretty cool. I was wearing it the other day. I wear my own merch now, apparently. But we thank you so much for supporting us. I know that we have listeners all over the world right now, which is super cool. We love making these podcasts for you guys, and man, we will scramble to get it done. But we are super committed. So thank you for coming along for the ride. Yeah. Justin, how was Rome? We never talked about it, but you sent me that clip of you waving, and I was like, that's glorious.
It's a great time. I feel like part of me is still over there. No, it was, again, really great. Just Rome, Italy in general is just, it's a beautiful place.
Do you get, like, buddy passes or anything?
I don't. Once upon a time, I did. I opted out of those for like these companion passes that are even better. But we'll talk about that at another time. Because people are elected into those for a year, but someone might be off of it next year. You never know. But it's a great time, though. I had a really good time. Yeah, for those of you, yes, obviously, I was not here in the last recording. I had some vacation time, and it's just long overdue. I needed to recharge. My initial plan, as I told Lisa, was to go to Hawaii. And you
listened to me bitch about you in
it
the
was
last
hysterical. I loved it. And I was like, I hope she tells them, because I saw your answer was wrong. It was cracking up. And I was like, I hope she tells them, like, surprise.
I was like, this son of a bitch is in Rome, isn't he?
Yeah. So my plans, again, you just got to do everything on the go and improvise. And my plans fell through. So I don't know. Peyton out of nowhere was like, Rome, let's go to Rome. And I'm like, how we're going to go to Rome? When? How? Like, are you sure about this? And then we looked at Airbnbs, and it was just fate. There was one that was open that literally was right next to the Trevi Fountain. Yes, we were physically just, you look out our window, it's just a few feet away. Yeah.
Wow.
So we got really lucky on that, and the flights worked out. But no, it was crazy. Made sure to have real pizza while I was there. Made sure to have real pasta while I was there. And
oh God, I need to go to Italy. That sounds so delicious. Real pasta.
When you look back at the history of the creative arts, it takes a lot of darkness to create the light the arts bring to the world.
Thanks for joining us this week. And if you enjoyed our conversation, subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts and head over to Apple Podcasts to rate and review.
Please check out our sources listed in the episode notes. They're amazing.
And you can find us on all the social platforms, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and you can head on over to crimeoftheartspodcast.com.
We're looking forward to having you back next week. Until next time, peace out, everybody.
Peace out, everybody. How deliberate this was constructed as a white space in a city that was extraordinarily diverse.
Oh. Indeed.
And that's what Petrozzella told LA Magazine. Are you going to let us do this or no? It's stuck in there?
Ow.
I don't know what he's saying. Something out. Okay, getting down? Watch your face. Watch your face. Okay, go ahead, go. Oh, that kid's got a poop in his pants, I'm telling you right now.
Oh.
Okay.